Ohio is home to a slew of cryptid creatures, lake monsters, large serpents, small and large hairy humanoids, as well as mutant animals. One of the world's Bigfoot hotspots, it is the research epicenter of another cryptid curiosity, rare and unusual amphibians. From giant frogs in the swamp to bipedal species roaming throughout the state, Ohio claims 3 types of cryptid amphibian, some varying greatly among their own kind. All distantly related to one another, the most ancient and obscure is what locals sometimes call the Muddy Man. Under muddy banks hide the muddy men. Crawling on all four, they groan and grab and pull below with terrible muddy hands. Born of neglect and malice, they are beings of the night. Sealed by dirt and mire, their muddy mouths can only bite. According to legend, Mirelings are spawned by the unceremonious burial or hiding of a corpse near water. Unnatural beings, they are made of the wet earth they were laid to rest in, and the rotting flesh of their remains. 4-legged nocturnal beasts, they hide beneath the ground until the sun is out of view. Fueled by immense sorrow and anger, they pull themselves to the surface, where they plague and punish the living. While they may bite and scratch, they cannot scream or swallow, as their throats are blocked with hard-packed soil. When a muddy man is awakened, the squelch of mud against sticky palms and feet can be heard on the riverbank. Their pained, wet croaks can be heard on quiet nights. Stepping over their graves brings them out of dormancy. They will not return to sleep until they have wetted their lips with a victim's blood. During the day, they hide in the shadows of trees or under the water. If someone passes by, they will follow, crunching down on an ankle or arm when able. After an attack, they return home, sleeping until disturbed once more. Crawling and hunched, the creatures have 2 sharp teeth that jut from their jaw, swollen, cadaverous eyes, and a torso bloated with death. Preserved as long as they stay out of the sun and remain moist, the beasts are greatly harmed by heat, drought, or any drying or warming of their skin. It is said that they can be driven from below by pounding the earth with hammers, from the forest with great bonfires, and scared away by any flash of light. They are believed to raid cemeteries and graveyards located too close to rivers. Malicious creatures. Stories warn travelers, avoid the river after dark. In the world of cryptozoology, organisms that defy science and even death are not entirely uncommon. Yet, the creature responsible for Muddy Man tales is an, albeit ugly, harmless, medium-sized animal. Nearly extinct, it is a fascinating cross between a salamander and a frog, and can only be found in a few places. This strange cryptid remains in one area, the riverbanks of Lower Ohio. Nocturnal, those even seeking it out are rarely successful. A burrowing creature, it leaves its hovel only when absolutely necessary. Going by many names, the best is Mireling, as it is a strange, smelly amphibian usually coated with mud. It is the most accurately descriptive. Mirelings spend most of their life underground, but occasionally leave to scavenge or find a mate. Within their bankside hovels, they raise young, hunt, and hibernate. Mirelings appear as short, chunky, lizard-like animals coated in a thick layer of mud. As they spend most of their lives in riverbank tunnels, their grimy appearance is no surprise. Free of filth, a Mireling's hide shares a similar color palette to the mud. Various shades of brown, minor flecks of muted greens, and blots of gray. Their coloration helps them blend in with their environment and hide on river bottoms while swimming. Combining characteristics traditionally associated with lizards, salamanders, or frogs, Mirelings were initially mistaken as a perseverant species of proto-amphibian. Having short, bulky tails attached to stout, low-to-the-ground bodies, they waddle when they walk on the surface. As arms and legs are rigid, though powerful, these four-limbed animals are well suited for digging and sliding, but not roaming around. While its body is a strange composite, none of its features are as bizarre as its head. Two bulbous, dark brown eyes sit against an almost flat forehead. A thin snout curves upward a few inches above the eyes. The eyes and nostrils push up from the mud and scout the area, taking in a breath, as well as what lurks nearby. Jutting from the snout tip is a fang. Slanted slightly forward, it rests above an opposite-facing tooth, poking from the bottom lip. The jaws are thin and bowed inversely, ensuring that the mouth never fully closes. These fearsome fangs are useful for plucking meat off a bone or tearing through tough material. Tiny teeth line the amphibian's mouth, diminishing in size the further into the cavity they are. Most are for gripping prey, though they may also serrate food. Below the Mireling's thin head is a loose flap of skin connected to the lower mandible. Able to stretch and accommodate large portions of food, the pocket is essential for the amphibian's survival. On account of an oddly shaped head, when breaching the surface, it gathers a hefty pile of debris. Sludge gathering and falling down its skull obscures the animal's coloration and facial features. Consequently, this has led observers to misidentify the creature as a round-headed being with small, side-facing eyes and a thick neck. A slick, mucousy substance incessantly secreted by the skin aids in its underground travel. Responsible for its slimy appearance, the matter is sticky and partially the cause of its unappealing stench. This substance is also responsible for keeping the Mireling safe. Maintained by the animal's diet, it is extremely toxic to most predators in the area, making those that taste it violently ill and those that come into contact with it sickly. Mirelings survive by acting as a carnivore and scavenger. From their hole in the ground, they catch insects and light creatures such as small birds, lizards, snakes, rodents, and sometimes fish. Like a chameleon, they use a ballistic tongue, a long organ that shoots out of the mouth and captures small prey incredibly quickly. Unlike chameleons, however, Mirelings' tongues are barbed instead of sticky, spearing prey with thin needles and bringing them to the mouth. Capturing prey up to 2 feet away. When this method is unsuccessful, they bait scavengers instead. Utilizing its natural scent and scraps of previous meals found between the teeth, the Mireling poses as carrion. Sticking only its snout above ground and holding its mouth slightly more agape, it attracts scavengers close. If prey falls for the amphibian's trap, they are grappled by its tongue or clamped between its jaws. Most of a Mireling's nutrition is derived from carrion. Small meals are not enough to sustain a creature of their size, so they leave their dens at least once a month to find a large food source. Head tilted downwards as they wander, they can smell a corpse up to 30 feet away and 10 feet below. Fresh roadkill or very aged carcasses. The creatures are not picky, eating any material left on a bone. While most of their scavenging occurs on the forest floor or riverbank, they are known to dig into the ground if a large meal waits below. Searching and eating until full, they keep extra provisions in their jowl, using them to grow the bacteria they need to make more of their slimy secretions. They eat a little of it each day. The more they take with them, the slower and more vulnerable they are, but the more time in between outside feedings. As they do not like to be out of their hovels, they take as much as possible when they can. Pulling pieces away or taking large chunks. If there are any hard pieces or bones in their food reserve, they spit them out around their den. Wild Mirelings don't have many predators to look out for. Those that will make a meal of them are very intelligent, like the wild men, or osteophagic, like the unpredictable bone crunchers. Holes speckled with bone bits near the river may be frequented by these kind of hunters. Mirelings pair up and mate during the spring, as many other amphibian species. Able to distinguish shapes and colors even in extreme darkness, certain colors glow to Mireling eyes. With their strange eyes atop the head, females wade into the center of rivers and float. Watchful of the horizon and sky, they travel up and down the waterways, looking for neon fountains on the bank. Taking time to prepare for the occasion, male Mirelings eat less of the food they catch in the spring, storing most of it in their jowl, brewing a mixture of toxic fluid, spittle, and decaying meat. The substance glows a neon yellow-green when perceived with their nocturnal vision. Going to the water's edge, they dip their snouts in for a gulp. Mixing it inside, they move the tainted liquid to the back of the throat and snort it out through the nose. A fountainous spray of bright color. Males signal that they are ready and looking for a mate. Few in number and far apart, the odds of a couple meeting are slim. The mixture created by the males takes much time. It is only enough to call out with for a few nights. Unlike other animals, Mireling pairings are not appearance or display based, but first come, first serve. Males and females mating only once a year with a single partner, females have less chances of finding a mate the later in the spring it gets. Males may call out that they are ready for a brood as early as mid-March, but generally in April. Males struggling to scavenge or prepare their den may be late, performing their displays in mid-April or as late as early May. Females will travel and seek a mate until mid-May. If a partner has not been discovered, she will lay her infertile eggs in the shallows of the river, travel up to a mile away, and dig a new home. If a mate is found, she will stay only long enough to copulate, laying eggs near the entrance of his burrow, or in a shallow puddle nearby. If close to her own hole in the ground, she returns home. But if far from her starting point, she will travel several hours away in search of a good place to start anew. A quick affair, he spends the rest of his night scooping the hundreds of gelatinous eggs into his mouth and depositing them in a pool he has dug and filled with water. A branch next to his sleeping quarters, when the eggs hatch into tadpoles, he will drop pieces of his meals for the young to feed on. Incredibly small, they eat little. Tripling in size over the course of a few months, the large male wades into their pool and digs out into the river. Water gushes in and washes the youths out into the river. Small, yet otherwise capable of providing for themselves, offspring disperse. Those that make their way to banks or shallow creeks without being eaten dig miniature burrows for themselves and feed on small bugs. As they grow in size over the next few years, they will move to rougher or larger water sources and begin the cycle anew.
This public broadcasting station is sponsored by the Ballyraven and Forfend Patreon, Forfend, Cryptid Nature Documentaries, the Ballyraven Etsy store, and viewers like you.
Do you love cryptids? Would you like to become an expert in mythology, folklore, the paranormal, and cryptozoology? Study under the Forfend Institute of the Cryptozoological Sciences by becoming a Ballyraven Patreon member today. Receive your diploma within the first month, get up-to-date articles, access to the organization's full library, ad-free content, voting privileges, downloadable artwork, plus monthly mail packages. Go behind the scenes and discover. As graduates and agents, no mystery is withheld. From Bigfoot and lake monsters, to demonic beings and unidentified object phenomenons, there is much to uncover. Visit www.patreon.com/Ballyraven to sign up and secure your place within the agency. Physical goods and documentation are dispatched within 1 to 2 weeks.
Follow the lives of cryptids and creatures once thought to be only myth. Observe their daily habits, struggles with love, meetings with family, as well as their brushes with danger. With field researchers explaining behavior and narrating experiences, the Forfend Cryptid Nature Documentary podcast teaches about local legends and their living counterparts. Listen to Forfend Cryptid Nature Documentaries wherever you listen to podcasts.
Are you a fan of cryptids? Mythical figures? What about antique anatomical illustrations or field sketches? Visit the Ballyraven store on Etsy for a variety of prints, postcards, stickers, original illustrations, and more.
Ballyraven and Forfend support the inaugural Frogman Festival. Make sure to mark your calendars for March 4th, 2023 for the very first celebration of the beloved legend of the Loveland Frogman. Presented by Mappin Black and the Scary Cast podcast, and officially sponsored by MetaZoo, festivities will be held in the Great Wolf Lodge Conference Center in Mason, Ohio. A water park half an hour outside Cincinnati and near the Kings Island Amusement Park. An all-ages event, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Listen to a full lineup of speakers, shop the plentiful and diverse vendor halls, and meet up with the positive and supportive cryptid community. Basic entry starting at $10. Receive a festival t-shirt, an event poster autographed by Frogman speakers, and reserved seating for talks with the $40 VIP package. Frogman Fest speakers include Fortean investigator Ashley Hilt, author and paranormal researcher James Willis, Bigfoot researcher B. Mills, storyteller D. Elliott, cryptid huntress Jessica Jones, author and folklorist Heather Moser, Fortean researcher and writer Tobias Wayland, as well as park ranger and naturalist Aaron Shaw. Meet numerous wonderful vendors like Cryptid Clyde, Sherwin Sketch, Bashful Bee Press, P House Games, Easton Hawk, Conjure Dust Designs, Jamie Snell, The Moth Boys, and more. Follow Map in Black on Instagram to see the full list of attendees, as well as updates and new additions. Visit frogmanfestival.com to purchase your tickets today. Support local culture and the cryptid community. Meet us at the inaugural Frogman Festival.
Now back to our regular programming.
So, how do you pronounce your last name? I don't want to pronounce it wrong.
Oh, Quiambao.
Quiambao.
Quiambao. Yep.
I'm terrible at pronouncing everybody's names.
That is okay. I'm very used to it because, like, my name is, Filipino. So it's like, half the time I'm not entirely sure because, like, my father passed away. So, like, he can't correct me anymore.
I'm very excited to hear more about this creature you picked.
All right. So, in the Philippines, like, there are many creatures that have been, like, passed down through folklore and stories, but one that is especially, like, prevalent amongst people because, like, it exists to the point where when there was a festival for it, they actually shut it down because the people were too scared about it. The creature is known as a manananggal, which is part of a subset of creature known as Aswang. The word Aswang in itself comes from, like, pre-colonial Filipino, like, times where it was believed to be some sort of, like, vastly evil deity. In which case, is so powerful and so scary was such a creature that, like, just uttering the name would send any local, spine tingling, like, just in fear. However, when the Spanish conquistadors and missionaries came over, especially missionaries, they saw this as a way to convert people by being able to call out anything as aswang, whether it be a pig, a dog, um, your grandmother, that hot woman. If they could claim it as the creature, it scared people away from those. And the Philippines was actually, like, well, pre-colonial Philippines was very much like a combination of both like male and female, like, led groups. But, like, this took a lot of like power away from the locals, especially those that were converting to Christianity, because then it's like, well, we can't trust, like, the old lady, the Lola or old lady or grandma of the village because, like, well, clearly she's an Aswang and we just didn't know this whole time. So we're just gonna go to the church. But anyways, from there we get, like, I forget the name, but there was a Spanish missionary who, like, started writing down these classifications, and nah, that's where I'm getting my stuff from. It's just like, according to him, he breaks down on that there are several different kinds of Aswang. He also adds in, like, more like goblin things or creatures that would, like, rob the grave and eat people or such, um, or eat the deceased, I should say. And then, like, there's also, like I said, the pig, the witch, the beautiful woman and who might have something mysterious. Um, in some ways, I kind of feel like the modern like idea of the Manananggal comes from the fact that uh, like the Philippines is mainly Roman Catholic. A large portion of the Philippines is Roman Catholic. Um, in which case, it makes sense for the fear around the Manananggal. The Manananggal, uh, in and of itself, is been popularized as a beautiful woman by day and classified by many people around the world as a vampiric type creature due to its um, eating of babies. See, that's the thing. It hunts babies. So, yes, biggest boogeyman to a Catholic country is something which causes miscarriages. So, yes, you could say not even babies are unborn inside of the. Yes, so this is a bit gruesome, I'll admit. Probably should have warned that. But the whole idea of it, um, if the baby eating thing wasn't gruesome enough, and what really drives it home even further as something absolutely frightening is the fact that it grows wings. Okay, that's fairly normal. The idea of it growing a long tongue which invades into the space of thatched roofs, and that's how it drinks up the baby from the inside. That's also okay. That's a little bit weirder. But then it also has the gruesome effect of segmenting from its lower half, having its entrails notably dangle out from underneath. So that image is quite gruesome. In fact, in Filipino cinema, when it comes down to it, they've thought about the idea that oh, this process sounds absolutely painful, so let's make it a thing in our films. So they would. So whenever the Manananggal transforms, it's usually depicted as a very gruesome sight, an uncontrollable urge, a beast that emerges from its lower half, and that's the popular depiction, at least. Now, one of the more frightening things about it in Manananggal is the fact that people in the Philippines, especially more rural areas, it's not just a creature of film or old stories. It's real. Even calling the Mananagal by the phrase Aswang still holds a lot of weight. And when they say Aswang, usually they depict the Manananggal's particular popular image. And that's the thing. Not only they hold it in high reverence and believe in it, they believe in it enough to hunt people down and kill them for being Aswang or Manananggal. And uh, by the way, a lot of times though, and I admit I add to this too, where it's the popular depiction of the Manananggal is that it's female. However, the Manananggal can actually, especially in old folklore, be both male and female. So yeah, I guess you could put it up to um, male artists for wanting to impose a certain look, but I digress.
They are male or female. Is there any differences between the two, or is it they're just kind of the same, just appearances?
It's really just appearances. I don't think there's too much difference from my understanding of this creature. So yeah, I mean, possible reasons for the creature I would say would be things um, the fact that the Philippines has a lot of fruit bats, and if you've ever seen fruit bats, especially from the Philippines, they are huge. So I don't know. That could be a possible reason to explain away this flying creature, because a lot of photos and belief and more or less evidence of the Manananggal is believed to be that of well uh, flying creatures at night. A lot of times when even my own aunt has come, yeah, has come to me to warn me about people that she saw, because she's just like, my neighbor, she was an Aswang. I saw her leave the house. She flew away, and I'm like, okay. I haven't been to the Philippines in a long time. I mean, even then, I did not know of the legends. I mean, even to this day, even if you may not believe in it, you'd rather not risk it. A lot of times in the Philippines, a popular phrase to say when facing the supernatural is "tapi tapi po," which is just like a respectful way to be like, "Hey, is anyone here human?" Or like, to be kind to the mystical creatures so they like don't want to curse you in some regard. So, better be careful. Um, yeah. Oh, and also another weird thing about the Aswang and Managal myth, like creature, is that like you can transform into one. I'm not entirely completely. I don't completely understand the ritual, but it is incredibly wild from whatever I've been able to get, which is that you have to capture the Manananggal before they split. You can and you have to hang them upside down from a tree at midnight during a full moon, and then the black chick should emerge from their mouth, and then you should ingest it from their mouth, and then you'll pass on the Manananggalness to yourself. I don't know why that's a thing. I would like to do deeper research into that, but like I don't know, maybe it has something to do with one of the or interesting like Filipino dishes, balut, which is a fertilized duck egg that's been hard boiled. So feathers, eyeballs, muscle tissue, all inside of an egg. I've eaten it once. It's a thing.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Specifically a black chick.
Yes.
Huh.
I know there are actual black chickens out there where they're so black that even their bones are black. I
Wow.
just don't know of the relevancy to the Philippines, but I don't know. The Philippines in and of itself just has a lot of like issues and ideas about how like if it's dark, leave it alone. So, it's interesting to think like what places consider bats evil. I know in China, bats are considered good fortune. Obviously, not from the early, from not in 2020, but in
Yeah.
some cases.
Yeah, poor bats. You're an animator, right? Or at
Well,
least you started.
yeah, I started it at my discipline is in animation. That's what I like to say. It's just that I haven't really been living in Ohio makes it a little bit harder to find work, I would say. So really, I've been living more as an illustrator, drawing these cryptids and creatures and all kinds of things. It took me a while to get into cryptids, though. To be fair, I actually wasn't that into cryptids back when I was in college. But then after college, it's just like, well, these things seem to be getting kind of popular. Let's see where we go from there. So, I mean, to be fair, it's still I'm still looking at like how popular cryptids are and everything, and like they are infiltrating. I mean, from what I mean, like I like board games, so I'm always looking for a new board game and everything. So like, and from my research, there's like nothing that's like dedicated Mothman board game, despite how popular he is. There are a lot of Bigfoot type board games, but a lot of them are more recent. There were a few back in the day, but like really there are a lot more today than there ever was. And then the Loch Ness comes in second place, and like there's like two board games I've been able to find that are one of them is themed Loch Ness, and the other one is very much like game mechanics trying to make it feel like you're finding the Loch Ness. And I'm like, I can appreciate that. So
That sounds really fun.
although the Loch Ness game that like I looked at, that one was it was I mean a lot of these are very much children's games, but like the one that I like the fact that the one Loch Ness monster game board game I found was like, okay, so you gotta try and arrange a photo, and hopefully you'll come across Loch Ness, and once you have enough enough pictures to complete a full image of Loch Ness, then you win the game. I'm like, okay, that's pretty neat.
So what got you, so you weren't interested in cryptids before. What kind of got you into it? Just the seeing more of them got you a little bit more interested?
Well, let's see. Um, one of the things that got me interested in it was, well, my research into the Manananggal, into the Aswang, learning about these folklore creatures. Really, it got me interested. It like not I, at first I started with the Philippines because like that's close to my heritage. You see, I'm what you would call a Filipino American. And even then, we're not really accepted by a lot of like Filipinos as like really Filipino. And I mean that's fair. I don't know, like the '90s hits in the Philippines. I grew up here my whole life, and so with this idea of like I do feel like I'm more Filipino in some regards. Like I like the basic Filipino foods, but I also like cheeseburgers and Burger King and fried chicken. My point is I felt like an outsider. I felt like an in between. Like I'm definitely part of America and I'm definitely part of Filipino heritage, but like I don't feel like I truly belong. But then like when I found creatures like the ones in the Filipino mythology, where it's like, okay, so the Aswang, these creatures, they definitely belong in Filipino culture, but they're on the outskirts of Filipino culture because like people are afraid of them. Not that I want people to fear me, but I can understand that otherness, that outsideness that you get with monsters and a lot of creatures. And then when I like started really liking the Filipino stuff, I'm just like, well, what about here in my hometown? I mean, like, what about here in Ohio? First off, we don't have dinosaur bones apparently, which is very saddening to learn. But then, like, learning like, oh, what cryptids exist here in Ohio and here in my place? The Defiance Dog Man, north of, I believe, north of me. I'm like, okay, a dog man, whatever that is. And then, like, finding out, like, okay, so we got Bigfoot sightings and the Frog Man, and like we have Bessie. So, and I'm just like, okay, but like, what are some others? And eventually Mothman and Loch Ness. I mean, I always knew about Loch Ness and Bigfoot. I mean, as a kid of the '90s, dinosaurs, Jurassic Park, and the idea that there could still be a dinosaur left, like, yes, that's exciting to a small child. So I remember that like there was this guy who actually did a whole exhibit at the Rutherford U. Hayes Museum during COVID, sadly, where basically he did a bunch of Ohio cryptids and everything.
I
It
missed
was up
that
for like
one.
a Yeah, it was up for like a year and a half. I missed it too, but like you can actually, I found a review of some guy going on the road looking at it, and I thought that was pretty neat. So the guy does his
That's,
own interpretations of Grassman and everything, so it's pretty cool.
oh, was it the digital artist guy that kind of looked like they are structured kind of like a photograph, but they look kind of 3D rendered?
Yes, that guy.
I have seen his work. It's on a lot of articles
Yeah, it is.
about
To be
like
fair,
local, yeah.
he did something pretty extraordinary, which even I have to admit I'm a little jealous about. Oh shoot, that was recorded. He actually he studied in California and everything, and he's actually from my hometown. So yeah, I know of him.
Oh, you
Point
know
is,
him.
hey, we're in the same town.
Yeah.
Point point is, he actually, I mean, it was big news all over my small hometown. I don't know how many people have talked about it, but like he actually got his Bigfoot something. I don't know. I didn't look too much into it, but like he has a Bigfoot bust he made.
hmm
I think that's in the on the moon or something.
That would be that would be crazy. I can't imagine.
Yeah, I mean, but like when he did his, it's like you know, how can I put this? It wasn't sculpted. It was, I mean, part of it was it has fur. He put hair on it. He doesn't really hang around the cryptid circles. He hangs more around like the big artsy illustrator circles and everything. So what was it? I remember because like he's part of the Mazza Museum or like connected to it, which is this really interesting museum here in my hometown, and it's like a children's book museum. So they have children's book stuff, including children's book comics leading back to the 1800s and not older. It's really nice. Got a lot of stuff for Clifford and like the Hungry Caterpillar. A lot of those original. Some of them donate original works to the museum. Point is, is like he was able when he did his like big when he does his big yearly show called the Magic Paintbrush. I think it's called. He always gets some top tier illustrators who have won world renowned awards and even done Magic the Gathering card illustrations. So it's always very impressive. But anyways,
I use Clip. I don't know what program you use to draw digitally.
oh,
Clip
use
Studio. Yeah.
okay. Wow, it's been a while since I thought about that. I've been just using Procreate. So
Yeah.
yep, that's all. That's what I've done all my digital work on for the longest time. It's just been so convenient ever since I got an iPad. I actually
Yeah.
used to go to like my local cafe, but I would bring my portable Wacom tablet. So yeah, I come in with my like laptop, my Wacom, and all the wires are connected in.
Yeah. I love your you did some line art a while back and it was wonderful.
Oh, thank you. I'm assuming you're talking about the what is it called? The to my tongue, they're called the lumberjack folklore creatures, such as the gumber
Yes.
stuff. I've been
Yeah.
meaning to get back into that and everything because it was so much fun working with pen. And once again, sometimes it's just nice to have. The thing I love about digital is that like you kind of, you know, you can do basically anything because you have any color you need, any line work you want, and it's just you managing the tools. But then when you work with like traditional stuff, it's like this is what you have, work with it.
Yeah.
Understand far more. So
Yeah, you did.
and
I'm
some
looking at your Instagram right now and you did 3 of them.
yes, I actually have a whole set of them. I just posting a lot of them. I really should have. I did a cactus cat. I did it the let's see. I know I said the gumbroo, wind tosser, because I got the book at not this last Crypticon, but my first Crypticon, which is like the Squonk, um, Hodag, and other lumberjack folklore creatures. So,
Yeah, they're
which
one
was
they're
really fun.
yeah, I had no idea about those. I came across a YouTube video last month talking about the culture of it and how it's just like campfire fun.
Mhm.
Such a good idea. They
Oh my
almost
gosh,
look like
yes.
woodcuts. They're really beautiful. Love it.
Oh, oh, thank you. I love woodcuts, so that's kind of what I base the style off of. Because it's like, I mean, you can do it digitally, but it's not the same, of course, when you can do it by hand.
Yeah.
So it's just a
I
matter of just getting off my butt and just sticking to what I have. I mean, it should be that hard. I mean, when I did them, it was like, and when I did those original ink drawings, it was for like what was it, a opening I was having at my studio, and it's just like, well, I don't have that many stuff in frames. Surely I could do like a cheaper thing, and I thought like I could do these guys, so I did. No one bought
yeah.
anything, but it was fine. But still,
Yeah, that's how it is for everyone.
never been very good at measuring myself with
I
things. I'm just like,
make
ah, yes, this is the last bit of like mat board I have. Surely I'll get it done correctly. Well, I guess I got to go buy more mat board.
yeah, why is it so hard? It shouldn't be, right? I've
Yes,
even laid the picture on top and traced around it and still messed it up.
I I keep wondering if I'm doing it right, and half the time I'm just like, as long as they don't notice, it's fine.
Yeah, there's actually a pretty cheap company, but you have to order in bulk, and it's pre-cut mats, and the mats end up costing like 3 to 8 cents a board.
Really?
Yes, and you can get custom window sizes, which are of course more expensive. But um, I ordered like 100 because I was making a little museum display with all the anatomy studies, and
Oh, that's
you
so
might have
cool.
to you might have to crop your work a little bit, but it's so much better than trying to do it yourself, you know?
It sounds like honestly, it sounds like it would be cheaper if you're getting 100 mats per stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I'll have to look at my email and see if I can find their name again, and I'll send it to you because
oh,
it's a lifesaver.
nothing's more stressful than like, you know what? Maybe we can put in one more piece in one more frame.
Yeah.
Why am I doing this? This is literally the day of the festival. I shouldn't be doing this. God damn it.
Your setup is wonderful though. I said I know that it's like a controversial topic in the community, but some people get really frustrated when paranormal entities and supernatural creatures kind of get lumped in with cryptids.
I mean, I totally get where they're coming from. And I understand that, but part of me is like, I mean, perhaps this is a controversial take, but the way I look at it is a cryptid should be anything that has yet to be proven. And then cryptozoology is where they sort it all out.
I like that.
So I don't consider myself a cryptozoologist because I'm not here to sort it all out and be like, oh yeah, this is real and this isn't real. I'm just like, look, if someone has said a thing, I like to take that interpretation as solidly as I can, depending if I'm honest. But uh, I, I'm sorry, but just like I love the idea of a running frog person. That's adorable. A gray like one arm is longer than the other creature with a lumpy forehead is not as cute and not as sellable, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I feel like it's better if you organize it that way, where it's like cryptids versus cryptozoology, where cryptids can be creatures that may or may not exist, and that might just be because like maybe you have the belief in the supernatural. I'm not here to disprove that to you, but like I'm here to record and understand it, and then maybe try to give my own interpretation of said creature. Because like I don't know, I could be wrong. Who knows? I mean, like and plus also if I admit as an artist it does allow you to have a much wider range of different things you can draw.
Hmm.
uh, because otherwise, like I don't know, I remember coming across a cryptozoology channel which took themselves very seriously, which is fine. But especially in the age that we live in, where content is king, they actually ran out of content because they were very strictly like blood and bones creatures only.
Yeah.
So then they had to expand to supernatural creatures in order to like keep up with that. I mean, I don't know. It's I'd rather be more open to the idea that there are more things out there than be closed off and say like only this can exist. Because like that's the same argument for like saying that cryptozoology doesn't exist as a field. So by drawing this line where things can and can't exist, you close yourself off. But once again, I suppose that's part of the idea of science in general. And like I said, that's why I always fall back to that definition of cryptids are the creatures that have yet to be proven. Cryptozoology sorts that all out. So,
Yeah, so you see yourself
like I
more
know,
as a folklore interpreter or more in the entertainment sector or the documentating like section of cryptozoology stuff.
yes, I would put myself there personally. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind a cryptid investigation, and I also don't mind like listening to that kind of stuff. And it's really cool where people can go with that. At the same time, like I do not have, I'm not willing to put myself on a pedestal and be like, oh yes, it's like according to science. No, I don't have that kind of research or backing. I just like to draw the creatures, and I find them fun.
Yeah.
I think they're neat.
Yeah, that's what I feel too. It's nice to not I imagine it's very difficult to be that type of person. Like, because people aren't going to take you seriously. And to
Yeah.
back up your claims must be very frustrating. It's like, I
Yeah.
guess we just get to look up references and just ha have fun imagining things, which is the best job I've ever had.
Yes. I will say
But
this though. Oh, like the thing that really makes me stay with cryptids and everything is that like so I suck at abstract art. You tell me that I can do whatever I want, and I'm just like I don't get it. I don't know what to do. This makes me angry.
yeah.
I I failed like a lot of projects that were like do this abstract piece. And like, I don't understand what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this. But like if you give me something to grind against, like oh here's a little description, finally something that'll do. Like that's good. That's something I can work off. Like word, and I can even investigate it. Like where does this word come from if I need to figure that out? Is it French?
Yeah.
Is it German? And like I can find I have something to grow off of instead of just like pure imagination. Okay, so how do you feel about the latest set announced by MetaZoo?
I actually have no idea what is wait, was it the Wiccan like seance thing?
I mean, they did that one, and that one was like in October, I think.
Let me look them up.
Um, but like, which I was excited for. I thought it was kind of a fun idea. I like that they do some creepy stuff. At the same time, like, so their latest set that they're going to drop, and I don't think it's dropped just yet. It's called Native.
Oh.
So they're doing a whole bunch of like native creatures and goddesses, and I'm like, I mean, okay. I Sometimes I think about collecting them. I mean, I actually do have quite a few, not quite a lot. I don't have a lot of Metazoo cards, but I have Metazoo cards. There's just something about opening cards. It just gives me a deep sense of like happiness. But I mean they have like the preset decks and everything, so you know exactly what you're gonna get, which is great. But then you also have like the random singles card deck and everything. So I always try to put an asterisk whenever like people are just like, "That's the Wendigo," and I'm like, "Yes, it is the most popular version of the Wendigo."
Yeah.
Always make sure to put that there so that way people like know that. I mean, I don't know. One time I'm just like, whatever you do, sure. Because like from what I understand it, at least talking from a purely capitalist standpoint, it's like, look, look, the customer doesn't like to be wrong, so don't correct them unless they seem like they want to be corrected, like they're willing to learn. Otherwise, like, yeah, sure. This one kid came up to me and it's just like Wendigo, Walker. They're exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't going to buy anything, so it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I could, but also like, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
I believe the video I watched for it was by what is it? Dr. Emily Zarka's Monstrum group of videos where she dives into Wendigo and I believe she actually interviews someone who actually brought the Wendigo to the big screen. And when he did, he barely read anything about it and thought, wouldn't this thing be cool with deer antlers?
I mean, he was right.
Yeah, it really makes it stick out. I don't know if although I'm kind of curious to like what really like fed into the whole iconography of Wendigo with deer antlers because like my first like big like my first introduction to the Wendigo was actually through the fan theories of what the beast was in the show what is that Over the Garden Wall. I mean, I've been trying to figure out an illustration where I'm actually happy with my portrayal of the deer woman, but every time I draw it, I'm just like, I don't know how much I can draw this creature considering how connected it is to like, culture and everything. I'm like, I don't want to depict this wrong, but also like I would have to do a lot more research. I feel into it.
Yeah, what do you
Yeah.
think about the new launch? I like their new logo, by the way. It's like a little Mothman.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That is pretty neat. I don't know. I go back and forth to how I feel about MetaZoo because it's like first off, like I do kind of agree. Playing the game, it is like the worst versions of Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic the Gathering. It's like there's a lot of things here, but okay. But also like it is kind of nice that like they're kind of building the space a little bit. I don't think that they're fully accepted by a lot of people, but at the same time, I'm just like, I mean, they exist. I don't hate them, but I'm also very, like I said, I'm also very excited whenever they do release a card. But they also got into NFTs, which is just like, why? Yeah, sorry. Like I said, a bit of a controversial thing to talk about, I suppose.
I know a lot of
Um,
people hate MetaZoo. I don't know
yeah.
why. No one will tell me exactly why, but I met the guys and they seem nice.
I mean, the guys who do MetaZoo, I don't think they're bad personally. I do have some questions because I'm just like, how much are the artists getting paid exactly? He,
Yeah,
so that's my only questionable thing. And then like he has and then like the creator has art contests, so that way people can join in without having to be official licensed artists. And I'm like, so you're getting all this free work, huh? Which is just, yeah, I do question that. I mean, he should know better practices than that. I mean, Billie Eilish got called out for basically doing the same thing.
yeah,
I guess though, if I want to be devil's advocate, I don't know. I can be too kind to people even when they don't deserve it. But like, he comes from. I think his aesthetic apparently comes from like the this like small homebrew group of card creators. Basically, like people on the internet who got together in like I think 2015, 2014, or somewhere in that time period, and they basically just said, "Hail Mary, we don't have the skills to make cards. We don't have the programs even. We're gonna make our own card games and post them so anyone can play them," which is a really nice thing. I don't
yeah.
know how much he's in that movement, but like to go with that sort of like very raw style that's not refined. And like I think really, I like I can see that, and like if that's where the card game is coming from, then that makes a lot of sense. But when you become a multi-million-dollar program, I would expect that you should be able to pay your artist.
Yeah, I was looking at the artwork is always so cool, but I feel like it's kind of crossing a line to do like deities personally. That's
Yeah, I'm curious because, but at the same time, it's like it's interesting exposure. It's just, hmm, yeah. And plus, like one of the things that sucks about like games in general is that in order for a game to especially card games, in order for them to like continue to grow, they have to continue to make new content. And in order to make new content, they have to make you not only buy the new content, but they have to make the last content they made something that won't overpower the new content. Because if
yeah.
the old stuff's gonna work, why are you gonna buy anything new? But then like I want to stick with this card that I have, but like the game has changed now. It's all this very it's very consumerism, which makes sense, and it's a good business strategy if you're in it for the long haul, and you are in it for the long haul if you're going into making a card game or any kind of collectible thing. I mean, to be fair, there are lots of cryptids out there, that's for sure. At the same time, we all like people like the stuff they already know, like Bigfoot. People like Pikachu. People who are in it will like the new stuff, but a lot of people really want to be able to still see their favorites no matter how far down you go.
But yeah, the artwork's amazing. Do they have just one artist or is it a couple
Oh,
now?
from what I understand, I mean, last I checked, they have a team of artists and everything. So
Wow.
I followed a bunch of them from my first Cryptid Con and everything. They weren't there this year, at least. I mean, if they were, I didn't have time to go hang out with them this year or so. But yeah, they seem pretty. I mean, like some of them seem pretty cool. I kind of wish I could talk to them, but like I don't know. I do admit it's kind of intimidating to come in with their whole entourage and everything. At least like at least at CryptidCon, I haven't gone to any other conventions where I've met up with them. But like, I also was so surprised this year. But there was a lot. But there was some guy going around with a T-shirt at the last Crypticon with like their Mothman burning in a dumpster fire. I'm like, I mean, even if you don't like MetaZoo, I don't know, throwing Mothman in there makes me feel sad.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to talk to these people who have such passionate feelings about it. I was looking at all the comments and it looks like everybody loves it. So I was just curious if anyone felt weird about it, but I guess not.
One person I know that does feel weird about it was actually his name is Kodax. He he actually worked with Metazu for a little bit because of his YouTube series called the Seven Deadly Sins of Card Game of TCGs or something like that. He was very informative because he was actually hired on to like give some knowledge about what he knew about card gaming. A lot of people latched on to him, myself included, because anyone who wanted to make a card game, it's just like, well, here is someone who like not only plays them, but he works at a card shop where he distributes them and tells people like, okay, this is what you need to be aware of for what sells and how you keep a card game. And he's seen and he like gives examples. They weren't hard set and fast rules, but they are very informative for anyone who wanted to think about like how do I make a card game that's successful. And like I thought that was really neat. And so I was very excited when Metazu started working with him. And then like somehow I missed a few videos. Those within like 3 months span. I think I think sometime last year or so. And he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna sign the card game that will not be talked about anymore on my channel. And I'm like, oh, what is this falling out that happened? I
Is
mean,
this
it's fair. Or it is anything that I can. I kind of. In my own personal feelings, I feel like those people who like cryptids and those people who like board games, there's not as much overlap as I would like personally.
yeah? Do you have any plans to maybe make a board game of your own?
I keep on telling myself I want to, but then I find people who have already made the board game I wanted to. So I'm just trying to learn from them per se and see where I can go from there. Because like I initially had an idea for like a dice checking board game, and then like I discovered some of these things already exist, and like making a board game for myself for fun is one thing. Making a board game for other people is kind of hard. If anything, though, one thing I've been working on is just sort of like modifying a game a little bit. Like one board game that I'm kind of leaning towards modifying a little bit, and maybe if I can get a working copy, I might even approach the designers of and be like, "Hey, you guys are into doing expansions because they have, and because like on the because and this loops back around their whole talk about lumberjack folklore. So I found this. So I won this board game at the was it OhioCon, the biggest one of the biggest anime conventions here in Ohio. It's really hard to get into, by the way. I've never gotten in. To be fair, I've tried like twice and like once now, but like I know so many people get rejected from that convention. Point is I won this board game. It was yeah, that was really fun. I say fun because it works for like a nice party game. It's called Flapjacks and Sasquatch.
Oh,
It
I've
was
heard about that.
yeah, okay. So like playing it, I'm just like, wow, isn't it funny being a lumberjack and like handling Sasquatch and everything? And I thought like first off, the game is fun because you're a lumberjack and all this shenanigans that happen, and then Sasquatch comes along and he steals everything, and I'm just like, that's pretty fun. But what if we're more than just Sasquatch?
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is a game about being a lumberjack, and like you need an axe in order to like hack down a tree, and then like you win by having the most amount of victory points based on the worth of each tree that you have, totaling up to 21 points. And I'm like, okay, but like what if the axe handle hound came along and ate your axe or like would fetch you an axe? I think that'd be kind of neat. Just like yeah, have all the different things that all the different like lumberjack cryptids could do to like mess up the game, and that'd be kind of fun. People would be then like introduced to this folklore and be like, oh, I thought I just made it up for this game. I mean, the wind tosser sounds totally made up. I mean, it kind of is, but also, and I'm also just like, technically, this squonk is also a lumberjack folklore creature. What the saddest person gets a free axe? I mean, the game itself is very. I mean, the illustrations are. They look like they were made by somebody who was probably a programmer first. No offense, but that's kind of the charm of the game since it is a party game. It's nothing too serious. It's the other and I've looked into the expansions for the game and like they're more stuff. They're more Sasquatch stuff, but like it's all very tongue in cheek, jokey jokes kind of thing. Like I almost feel like the song "I'm a Lumberjack If That's Okay" by Monty Python like fits this game. I think fits this game actually. But anyways, there's so one I know I hope not to say too long on the tangent on board games here, but one board game that and a few board games that I love of that are cryptid related as would be one of them being the of course like what is it? It's called what's it called again? It's just right over there. Cryptids it's the horrified American monsters. Have you heard of that one?
I haven't.
Oh, that one's fun. I think I have mentioned it to others, so forgive me if I'm retreading old information. But that one's fun because it's like you're in a small town in the somewhere Americas, and then it's like you were hired by a secret agency to take on a role in the town, and then use your powers to, along with your teammates, not competing against each other, you either win or lose together. Because your goal is to make sure the town doesn't like get too scared off by the cryptids, which are invading the town. So like, and you can choose up to three different cryptids at any time to like take on, or two cryptids. One is just like and is not a challenge, but two or three cryptids, it gets very crazy then because like um the, you could have Bigfoot, Mothman, and the Chupacabra, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. But then they also have the Jersey Devil, Banshee of the Badlands, and the Jersey Devil to choose. Oh, and the Ozark Howler, and I'm just like, that's pretty nice assortment of cryptids. It's only six, but each one of the mechanics on how to take on each cryptid is pretty changes because like each one is basically a certain puzzle that you and the group have to like unlock in order to beat them. If you kind of beat Bigfoot, you actually have to like find its footprints, collect them, and then that counts as evidence, which reveals a photo, and then you have to rearrange the photo so it recreates the iconic Bigfoot image from um, what is it, the Patterson Gimlin footage and all. Or if you, or it's a chupacabra, you have to rescue six. It takes six goats and put them back into the farm. Otherwise, you can't defeat the chupacabra. Either way, your overall goal is to make sure that people in town and the terror meter, which goes up every time the cryptid can like kill a random passerby, or like attack one of the heroes, one of the players, or every time one of these things happens, the terror marker goes up, or the cryptid in some regards like will just be terrifying just for existing. Like Bigfoot doesn't like being alone in this game. No, Bigfoot likes being alone. So if you actually come in the same space as Bigfoot, he can't do anything. It's when Bigfoot is alone that he starts raising the terror meter and scaring the local like people. And I thought like that's fun. These mechanics feel like I'm actually dealing with the cryptid. So they actually have two expansions: Horrified American Monsters, and the one previous to that was Horrified, which is the Universal Monsters, which you take that in a similar fashion. But anyways, uh, but then another one I'm just going to quickly mention. I don't need to take up all the time with board games, but like so there's this like it's like a fighting game, but as a board game thing, where it's like you can match up two different like characters, fight them against each other. And like the first expansion was a four-way fight between Alice in Wonderland, what's his name? King Arthur, or and I forget the others, but I think Sinbad. Point is, it's like okay, so literary creatures fighting, I mean, literary people fighting each other. This game has several different sets. Each one is standalone, but can be mixed and matched, so you can have any fighter you want fighting, and they have money, so they actually pay for things like you can have Deadpool versus Buffy the Vampire Slayer in London, which I thought was a wild combination. But apparently, one of the most overpowered characters in the game is Bigfoot.
Oh, out of all of those, I never would have guessed.
Like because Bigfoot has consistent like attack. Like I don't know, he has a special attack called like where he can basically cut across the entire board. It just come right in front of you, and then he just has like this brute force attack for like a massive amount of damage, and it's just like legendary. And it's like, oh, he's legendary, and then he just smacks you with a log, and I'm just like, it's pretty great. So,
So what's your favorite board game out of every single one of them? What
ah,
would you
geez, what's
recommend?
my? I mean, it all depends on my mood, honestly. I'm just happy to play any board game that's like we're having a fun time. I personally like board games that are like non-competitive and that we work together. Just because like those I feel are. The thing I hate about board games is probably all the reasons why casual Monopoly doesn't interest me a lot. I mean,
Hmm.
I'll play it, but like the worst thing about Monopoly is always, or a lot of the older board games is, so let's say you lose in a multiplayer game. Now you can't do anything for like the rest of the entire game, and everyone keeps playing without you. And
Yeah,
that's just how the game is.
have you tried the Animal Crossing version of Monopoly?
I have not. I thought about it, but I'm just like, I mean, it seems like it might be a little nicer. I do like Animal Crossing.
Yeah, you don't get kicked out and you kind of help each
Oh,
other achieve your goals. So it
oh,
was
that's
like
pretty.
a completely different version.
Huh. Okay, I'll look into it then. Thing I like about co-op games is just like it's with this idea that like the only way that you'll win this game is if you guys can work together. Because then ideally no one gets left out of the game. Everyone has their part to do, and so it kind of feels role playing esque, as
Right.
complicated as it, but it's never too overwhelming. At least to my feelings, it's never too overwhelming, especially after you played it like once or twice. Then you get the hang of it and everything. So yeah, and also it's just kind of fun when people like, and like to be fair, I don't mind a competitive board game as long as it doesn't like make me quit the game like a third of the way in.
Yeah.
I remember hearing this one guy's exposure to this like, was it robot board game or something like that, and like his friends got him so hyped, and then they got him like the best armor, the best everything. So when they started to play their long campaign, he wouldn't die right away. Well, wouldn't you know it? He gets a really bad roll and he dies right off the bat. Everyone is so hyped for the campaign they continue to play without him for the rest of the game, and it's like worst experience ever.
Have you played like Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder?
I've had terrible experiences with homebrew. Ooh, like um, it's not the game that's bad; it's the people.
Yeah, it can be hard to
Like
find a good group.
yeah, I'm always like, I like playing board games, but I like playing board games with the right kind of people. People who aren't going and like who aren't there to constantly like. I mean, it all depends. If it's my siblings, like they're the best group for me to play with, or like my friends, like yeah. Otherwise, I get a little bit protective because I'm just like, I don't know if I want to play a board game with you because I don't know how bad this will be for me because it's just like, look, I don't want like I'm very casual about my board gaming. And some people, but I also like playing more complex board game. But also, if the board game, like, I don't know, it's been a while since I played with too many people. Because it's really, I swear, the hobby of board gaming is really hard. It's actually probably easier to find big people than it is to find a group of consistent people to play with.
I have heard that. You think it would be easier in cities, but it's almost harder because everyone already has their group and you have to try to find your way in.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a place like Columbus, for example, Columbus actually has a very good board game society. It's just I can never be there when they're open or around, sadly. With that being said, my hometown of Findlay, Ohio here does not have a good board game group. So I'm often like just, yay, another to the collection. And I just kind of stare at it and I get it trapped for like the first time I ever get to play it. And now it's been like 2 years, but like I still like one day.
Yeah, we need to
One
do
day I'll
like, well, maybe we should get all the cryptid people together for a pre-festival or convention board game like night.
that would that would be fun.
That would be pretty
I would
good. Yeah, we should do that because we everyone's usually at CryptoCon and everyone's usually at Mothman. Be like a
yeah.
good like pre-game.